Here's your wrestling news for September 19th, 2022. And we're kicking off today with Logan Paul, who signed with WWE earlier this year, but the world of wrestling isn't the only place he'll be stepping into the ring. In August, Paul confirmed plans for a return to boxing, saying he will fight later this year, but that may no longer be the plan. While speaking during the DAZN broadcast for the third fight between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin, Paul was asked about his next fight and said that right now, his focus is solely on Roman Reigns. Paul did say he will box again, but with there only being a few weeks of 2022 left after the Crown Jewel event, it's looking more unlikely that he will have a fight this year. There is no confirmation on who Logan Paul will box, but whenever he does fight next, he hopes to enter the ring as the new, undisputed WWE Universal Champion. For years, WWE has referred to their audience as the WWE Universe, a term that has annoyed viewers who feel that the phrase is too much of a marketing tool and they'd rather be called fans. Some members of WWE's Universe will no doubt be fans of Logan Paul, who has plans to make things even bigger. Speaking to Bleacher Report after the recent press conference, Paul discussed his long-term goals in WWE and is all about bringing new viewers to the product. I cross over big mainstream events. The WWE is a universe and it's huge, but I told Triple H I want to make this a multiverse. Paul added that the main question is how WWE can bring in people who aren't watching wrestling right now, adding that he brings in the eyeballs and WWE knows it. After 2 victories at 2 premium live events, Paul will have his biggest challenge when he faces Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel, and don't expect the Tribal Chief to go easy on the YouTubing superstar. Nearly 2 months have passed since Vince McMahon stepped down as chairman and CEO of WWE in the wake of an investigation into a reported series of hush money payments he allegedly made to former female employees to silence them from speaking publicly about potential misconduct and harassment, but the scandalous termination of his corporate reign still hangs over wrestling. In an exclusive interview with Wrestling Inc., WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long, who played an on-air authority for years in WWE, said the circumstances surrounding McMahon's abrupt resignation surprised him because he had no first-hand knowledge of the alleged misconduct. "I've never experienced none of that. When this came out about Vince and stuff, it was really a shock to me." Long added, "To know him, and I guess I didn't know him, but I mean, to be around him as long as I was, and to just see how professional in business he was, I'm saying I just would have never thought that." Long also speculated on how McMahon is dealing with his fall from grace, believing that his exit from the leadership role was probably hurting him more than anything else. "I will never forget that Michael Cole told me one time that wrestling was Vince's life. I was on Vince's plane at the time, and Michael Cole told me that Vince will talk about wrestling when we take off, and he will talk about it until we land. And that's exactly what we did. We talked about wrestling that whole flight. So that's why I think him being away is, like I said, he's been doing this for so many years, so to step away like that, it's gotta take a lot out of it." Long was less complimentary about former head of talent relations John Laurinaitis, who was removed from his job in the wake of the scandal. "With John Laurinaitis, it's karma. Karma will come back to get you. Laurinaitis was never a big fan of mine. He was laughing and grinning in my face, but he hated my guts." What do you think about Teddy's comments? Sound off in our comments below. Over to AEW, as Kenny Omega has been suspended from the promotion for his role in the All Out fight, but he is still able to appear elsewhere. Omega was recently the guest of honor for a stream from Capcom TV, where fans noticed an unusual marking on his left forearm. Fans quickly suspected that this mark was the result of the bite he took from a steel during the fight, and that appears to be the case. While the bruising from a bite would be unlikely to still be there 2 weeks later, Fightful reports that the Capcom live stream was filmed a week ago, meaning that an injury from the fight would still be visible. One source who saw Omega in Japan just after the fight said the bite mark was unmistakable, and the cleaner was said to have been trying to hide his left forearm during his trip to Japan. Another source said the bite on Omega's arm looked disgusting immediately following the fight, and Omega was said to have been very verbal after receiving the bite. While Omega is suspended, there's no talk of him being fired, which is more than can be said for Steel and CM Punk, but we'll only know what their futures hold after the investigation. Since coming to the main roster in 2020, Bianca Belair has been a huge success, winning the SmackDown and Raw Women's Championships in back-to-back WrestleManias. Before becoming one of the biggest stars on today's main roster, though, Belair was the EST of NXT, though never won gold on the brand. While speaking on the In the Click podcast, Belair said she plans to return to NXT and possibly square off with current champion Mandy Rose. "I'm a homegrown talent, so it exceeds where it all started, so I would really feel full circle to go back at some point in time. Right now, maybe not right now because I'm Raw Women's Champion, but I never got to win the NXT Women's title. So I would love to go back, and Mandy Rose is doing amazing things right now. I've never gotten to have a feud with Mandy on NXT, Raw, or SmackDown, so maybe Mandy Rose." When NXT relaunched as NXT 2.0 last year, there was an edict that at least one main roster superstar had to be on the show, which would certainly fit with Belair's plans. With the brand now going back to just NXT, it's unclear if this rule is still in effect, so we'll have to see if Belair becomes the EST of NXT once more. During this week's SmackDown, a commercial break got fans talking for the bizarre scene that unfolded when the cameras weren't rolling. The psychedelic song White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane was played, while fans held up their camera phone lights and eerie red lighting filled the arena. The entire scene was something reminiscent of Bray Wyatt, and fans were quick to call this a teased return for the former Universal Champion. It's easy to see why fans believe this to be the work of The Fiend, as Wyatt did tease a return to wrestling with a poem on Instagram earlier this year, referencing several WWE superstars, including The Rock, The Undertaker, and Finn Balor. Not only that, but it's also been reported that Alexa Bliss is set to embrace her darker persona again, which could also be a sign of The Fiend's imminent return to the company. Now, this weird situation has happened again, as the very same creepy scene unfolded at the WWE live event in Bakersfield, California on September 17th, but we may have a non-Wyatt explanation. On Twitter, Karrion Kross tweeted out a few emojis, including the expected hourglass, a question mark, and, most intriguingly, a rabbit. This was in response to a video of Kross from 2018 when he worked for Mexican promotion Lucha Underground as the White Rabbit. This might be an indication that Kross is in store for a slight character tweak, though the idea of WWE referencing his persona from 4 years ago from a different company seems odd to say the least. As always, nothing is confirmed until it plays out on WWE TV, but it appears that WWE does have something in store with these bizarre, untelevised segments. Now, Drew McIntyre hasn't had the best luck as of late after coming up short against Roman Reigns at WWE's Clash at the Castle. Not only that, but the Scottish Warrior is currently embroiled in a feud with Karrion Kross, who seems to keep having the upper hand over Drew. It's been quite some time since McIntyre held championship gold, but that could all change next year. According to Zero News, there is a plan for McIntyre to face his fellow European Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship down the line, with reports stating that it could be the plan for WrestleMania 39. If so, it'll mean that Gunther will have had a 10-month reign by the time WrestleMania comes around, and we are sure that a McIntyre-Gunther feud would be physical to say the least. It has been reported lately that WWE wants their mid-card titles to be given more prestige, hence why we're seeing top names like Sheamus and Seth Rollins challenge for the IC and US titles respectively. Having McIntyre, a two-time former WWE champion, look to win the Intercontinental Gold would certainly give the title a rub, a championship McIntyre last held all the way back in 2010. McIntyre hasn't held a championship since early 2021, but next year, after a 2-year drought, that could change for the Scottish Warrior. At Crown Jewel, Roman Reigns will have the backing of the Bloodline when he steps into the ring with Logan Paul, which has grown even bigger with the addition of new NXT North American champion Solo Sikoa. With Sikoa, the Usos, Sami Zayn, and Paul Heyman on Roman Reigns' side, in addition to Reigns' own skills, the odds are against the YouTuber turned boxer, but he may have some backup of his own. Tonight's Raw will be the first show since WWE made the Crown Jewel match official and could also see the debut of Jake Paul. Logan's brother is also a YouTuber and a fighter, and on Twitter recently claimed that his bro will knock out Roman Reigns if given the chance. We should stress that this is just a rumor, but the rumor is that Jake will appear tonight to confront the Bloodline, sending a message from Logan that Roman Reigns and the Bloodline is messing with the wrong family. Jake Paul is no stranger to getting physical and may prove to be a difference maker in his brother's feud with Roman Reigns, and could add even more star power to what is already a high-profile match. And we're ending today with news from Malakai Black, who isn't as finished with wrestling as it was first believed, but he has opened up about his departure from AEW. At first, the promotion denied his release, but later granted what's been called a conditional release, which is believed to be similar to WWE's non-compete clause, though likely just with televised promotions. Black took to Instagram on Sunday and provided an update on his future, as well as giving details about his decision to leave AEW. The last 2 years of my life have led to a lot of setbacks. Both me and my wife have been affected by uncontrollable actions from outside that resulted in loss of life, medical setbacks, career jeopardizing, and a close family member almost losing their life, then experiencing an injury that I was sure was the end of my career. Black goes on to say that during this time, he's also been working through sessions of rehab just to be able to walk and compete, and added that promises in his professional field were not upheld. Addressing a return to the ring, Black remained open to the idea, saying, "Perhaps once my mind settles on certain things and processes the last 2 years a bit better, I will convey, via a different platform than written out, what the exacts were that happened and have a more informed conversation about them." Black isn't expected to return to WWE, at least not anytime soon, as he is both keeping away from the ring and is likely not allowed to because of the conditions of his release. All we know for certain is that Black does plan on wrestling again, but that'll only come when he feels he's ready to get back in the squared circle. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.